In a world that constantly pulls at your attention, your energy, and your time, the most important decision you can make is the decision to return to yourself. Every day you wake up, there are demands waiting for you. Expectations from family, pressure from society, noise from technology, and the endless comparison with others who seem to be moving faster, achieving more, becoming something greater. But the truth is simple and often forgotten. If you do not stand firmly in your own center, the world will decide your direction for you. And a life directed by everything outside will always feel empty on the inside. Putting yourself first does not mean becoming selfish. It means becoming responsible. Responsible for your thoughts, responsible for your energy, responsible for the direction of your life. Too many people wait for permission to take care of themselves. They wait for the right time, for approval, for a sign that they are allowed to choose their own path. But permission will never come from the outside. It must come from within. The moment you decide that your growth matters, your peace matters, and your life matters, everything begins to change. Many people live as if they are at the bottom of their own priority list. They give their time to everyone else, but have none left for themselves. They solve other people's problems while ignoring their own. They invest in other people's dreams while abandoning their own. Over time, this creates a quiet frustration, a silent exhaustion that grows heavier with each passing year. You may continue to function, you may continue to smile, but inside you know something is missing. That missing piece is you. To put yourself first is to recognize that your energy is limited and valuable. Every thought you think, every action you take, and every decision you make either strengthens you or weakens you. When you constantly say yes to things that drain you, you are silently saying no to your own growth. When you ignore your needs, you teach yourself that you do not matter. And when you live like this for too long, you begin to forget who you really are. The new year is not just a change in numbers. It is an opportunity to choose differently, not because the calendar changed, but because you can change. Growth does not happen automatically. Time passes whether you grow or not. The difference between a life that transforms and a life that stays the same is intention. If you do not decide who you want to become, you will remain who you have always been. Putting yourself first begins with honesty. Honesty of wrestle the habits that hold you back, honest awareness of the habits that hold you back, honest recognition of the excuses that keep you stuck. This honesty is not meant to hurt you. It is meant to wake you up, because you cannot change what you refuse to see. You must learn to sit quietly with yourself, without distraction, without noise, without escape. In that silence, you begin to hear the truth. You begin to notice the tension you carry, the thoughts that repeat, the fears that control you. Many people avoid silence because silence reveals what distraction hides. But what you avoid controls you, and what you face frees you. When you start putting yourself first, you will notice resistance, not only from others, but from within yourself. A part of you will say it is wrong. A part of you will say it is selfish. A part of you will say you should wait. But that voice is not wisdom. It is conditioning. It is the result of years spent putting yourself last. Growth requires courage, and courage often feels uncomfortable. It may mean saying no when you used to say yes. It may mean creating distance from people who drain you. It may mean choosing discipline over comfort. These choices are not easy, but they are necessary, because every time you choose what strengthens you instead of what weakens you, you take one step closer to the person you are capable of becoming. Your time is your life. Every hour you spend cannot be returned to you. Yet many people spend their time carelessly, as if there will always be more. They delay their dreams, postpone their growth, and wait for the perfect moment that never comes. But life is happening now, not tomorrow, not next year, not someday. If you want to change your life, you must begin where you are, with what you have. Putting yourself first also means taking care of your body and mind. Your body is not just a tool, it is the foundation of your life. When you neglect it, everything becomes harder. Your mind is not just a place for thoughts, it is the space where your reality is shaped. When it is filled with negativity, doubt, and distraction, your life reflects that chaos. But when you train your mind and strengthen your body, you create stability within yourself. Discipline is one of the highest forms of self-respect. It is the ability to act according to what matters, even when you do not feel like it. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline remains. When you build discipline, you build trust with yourself. And when you trust yourself, you become stronger than any obstacle you face. Many people search for confidence, but confidence is not something you find. It is something you build. Every promise you keep to yourself adds a brick to the foundation of your confidence. Every commitment you honor strengthens your character. And every time you choose growth over comfort, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you thought. There will always be distractions. There will always be excuses. There will always be reasons to wait. But there will never be another moment exactly like this one. The life you want is not created by chance. It is created by choice. And the most important choice you can make is the choice to stop abandoning yourself. You deserve your own effort. You deserve your own discipline. You deserve your own care. Not because you are better than anyone else, but because your life is your responsibility. No one else can walk your path for you. No one else can grow for you. And no one else can grow for you. And no one else can become the person you are meant to be. When you finally decide to put yourself first, something shifts inside you. Your energy becomes clearer. Your direction becomes stronger. Your decisions become easier. Not because life becomes simple, but because you become focused. And a focused mind is a powerful mind. This is the moment to return to yourself. Not the version of you shaped by fear, doubt, or expectation, but the version of you that exists beneath all of that. The version that is capable, disciplined, and strong. That version has always been there, waiting for you to choose it. Every step you take toe. Art yourself is a step away from the life you no longer want. Every moment of discipline is a moment of transformation. And every decision to prioritize your growth is a declaration that your life has meaning and direction. The path will not always be easy, but it will always be worth it. Because in the end, the greatest achievement is not what you gain from the world, but who you become within it. And that begins the moment you decide that you are no longer willing to live as a stranger to yourself. Taking responsibility for your own life begins with a simple but powerful realization. No one is coming to live your life for you. Many people spend years waiting for the right moment, the right opportunity, or the right support before they decide to change. They wait for motivation to appear, for circumstances to improve, or for someone to guide them in the right direction. But life does not wait. Time continues to move forward, whether you take action or remain still. The moment you understand that your life is your responsibility is the moment you begin to take back your power. Responsibility is often misunderstood. Many people see it as pressure, as something heavy that weighs them down. But true responsibility is not a burden. It is freedom. When you accept that your choices shape your life, you stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances. Instead of asking why things are happening to you, you begin asking what you can do about them. This shift in perspective changes everything, because it moves you from a position of helplessness to a position of strength. Every day is filled with decisions, even the smallest ones. The time you wake up, the way you spend your morning, the thoughts you allow into your mind, and the actions you choose to take all shape the direction of your life. Many people think their future is decided by big moments, but in reality, it is decided by small choices repeated consistently over time. When you take responsibility, you begin to see these small choices as important. You become more aware of how you spend your time and how you use your energy. It is easy to blame circumstances. It is easy to point at the past, at other people, or at situations that feel unfair. Blame can feel comforting because it removes the pressure to change. If everything is someone else's fault, then you do not have to do anything differently. But blame also keeps you stuck. As long as you believe that your life is controlled by forces outside of you, you will never feel truly in control. Taking responsibility does not mean denying that difficulties exist. Everyone faces challenges. Everyone experiences setbacks. There are obstacles that you did not choose and situations that you cannot control. Responsibility means focusing on what you can control despite those challenges. You may not control every situation, but you always control your response. And in that response lies your power. One of the hardest parts of responsibility is honesty. It requires you to look at yourself without excuses. It asks you to admit where you have been lazy, where you have been afraid, and where you have been avoiding change. This honesty can feel uncomfortable because it removes the stories you tell yourself to stay comfortable. But without honesty, there can be no growth. You cannot improve a life that you pretend is already fine. When you begin to take responsibility, you stop waiting for motivation and start creating structure. You build routines that support your growth. You set standards for how you live each day. Instead of acting based on how you feel in the moment, you act based on what you know is right. Feelings change constantly, but principles remain steady. Responsibility means choosing principles over moods. There will be moments when responsibility feels difficult. There will be days when you want to avoid it, when you want to return to old habits, and when you want to take the easy path. This is normal. Growth always involves discomfort because you are moving beyond what is familiar. But every time you choose responsibility in those moments, you strengthen your character. You prove to yourself that you are capable of more than convenience. Taking responsibility also means letting go of the idea that someone else will fix your life. Advice can guide you, support can encourage you, and opportunities can help you, but no one else can do the work for you. The effort must come from you. The discipline must come from you. The decision to keep going must come from you. The decision to keep going must come from you. When you understand this, you stop searching for shortcuts and start focusing on progress. Responsibility is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. You will make mistakes. You will have days where you fall short. You will face moments where you feel lost or uncertain. Responsibility means acknowledging those moments and continuing forward anyway. Instead of giving up when you fail, you learn from the experience and adjust your actions. As you take more responsibility, you begin to trust yourself more. Each time you follow through on a commitment, you strengthen that trust. Each time you choose growth over comfort, you reinforce the belief that you are capable. Over time, this trust becomes confidence, and that confidence becomes stability. When you are responsible for your life, you stop drifting, you begin to move with direction. Your decisions become clearer because they are guided by purpose instead of impulse. You waste less time on things that do not matter and invest more time in things that do. This clarity creates a sense of calm because you are no longer constantly reacting to everything around you. Responsibility also changes the way you see challenges. Instead of seeing them as obstacles that block your path, you begin to see them as opportunities to grow stronger. Each challenge becomes a chance to practice patience, discipline, and resilience. Over time, the things that once seemed overwhelming begin to feel manageable because you have developed the strength to face them. The more responsibility you take, the more you realize how much control you actually have. Not control over everything that happens, but control over the direction you move. This realization is empowering because it reminds you that your future is not something that simply happens to you. It is something you actively create through your choices and actions. When you fully accept responsibility for your life, you stop living passively. You stop waiting and start acting. You stop hoping and start building. You stop wishing and start becoming. And with each step forward, you shape a life that reflects not your excuses, but your decisions. Your time and energy are the most valuable resources you possess, yet they are often treated as if they are endless. Each day you wake up with a limited amount of focus, strength and attention, and how you choose to spend these determines the direction of your life. Many people give away these resources too easily. They say yes when they want to say no. They allow distractions to fill their hours. They let other people's priorities become more important than their own. Over time, this quiet surrender drains their strength and leaves them wondering why they feel stuck, exhausted, and unfulfilled. Protecting your time and energy begins with awareness. You must first see where your time is actually going. Hours can disappear into small distractions that seem harmless in the moment but become costly when repeated every day. A few minutes of delay turns into hours of avoidance. A quick distraction becomes a habit of escape. These patterns slowly take control if you do not pay attention to them. The first step toward change is simply noticing how often your attention is pulled away from what truly matters. Many people believe they are tired because they are doing too much, but often they are tired because they are doing too much of what does not matter. Not all effort is meaningful effort. Not all activity leads to progress. You can spend an entire day busy and still move nowhere. Protecting your energy means choosing carefully where you invest yourself. It means recognizing that every task you accept carries a cost. Every commitment requires a portion of your life in exchange. Learning to say no is one of the most important skills in protecting why? Our time and energy. Saying no can feel uncomfortable, especially if you are used to pleasing others or avoiding conflict. You may worry about disappointing people. You may fear being seen as selfish or unkind. But every time you say yes to something that does not serve you, you are quietly saying no to something that does. Each unnecessary commitment takes space that could have been used for growth, rest, or meaningful work. When you begin to value your time, your decisions start to change. You become more selective about what you allow into your life. You start to question whether something is truly worth your attention. Instead of automatically agreeing to everything, you pause and consider whether it aligns with your priorities. This pause is powerful because it shifts you from reacting automatically to choosing intentionally. Distractions are one of the greatest threats to your energy. They are everywhere, always available, always tempting. Distractions promise comfort and ease, but they often leave you feeling empty afterward. The mind becomes scattered when it is constantly jumping from one thing to another. Focus becomes weaker and tasks take longer to complete. Protecting your energy means creating space where focus can exist without interruption. This often requires discipline. It requires setting boundaries not only with others, but also with yourself. You must decide when to work, when to rest, and when to disconnect from the noise around you. Without boundaries, your time becomes open for anyone and anything to take. With boundaries, your time becomes structured and meaningful. Energy is not only physical, it is also mental and emotional. Certain environments drain you. Certain conversations exhaust you. Certain habits weaken your clarity and focus. If you pay attention, you can feel the difference between what gives you energy and what takes it away. Activities that align with your values tend to leave you feeling stronger, while activities that go against them tend to leave you feeling drained. Protecting your energy means making adjustments based on what you observe. It may mean limiting time spent in negative environments. It may mean reducing unnecessary obligations. It may mean creating quiet moments where your mind can rest. These changes may seem small, but their impact grows over time. The more energy you preserve, the the more energy you have available for what truly matters. Rest is also an important part of protecting your energy. Many people treat rest as something they must earn, something they allow themselves only after they are completely exhausted. But rest is not a reward. It is a necessity. Without rest, your focus weakens, your patience shortens, and your motivation fades. Protecting your energy means recognizing, wow, Hen, you need to pause and allowing yourself the space to recover. When you respect your need for rest, you begin to work with greater clarity. Your thoughts become sharper and your actions become more effective. Instead of forcing yourself forward in a state of exhaustion, you move with steadiness and purpose. This balance between effort and recovery allows you to maintain progress over the long term. It's balance between effort and recoveries. Over the long term and energy, you may notice changes in your relationships. Some people will understand and respect your boundaries, while others may resist them. This resistance can be difficult, but it is a natural part of growth. When you change your priorities, not everyone will adjust easily. Protecting your energy sometimes means accepting that not everyone will approve of your choices. Over time, the benefits become clear. With fewer distractions, your focus deepens. With stronger boundaries, your stress decreases. With more intentional choices, your progress becomes steady and visible. You begin to feel less scattered and more centered. Your days start to feel purposeful instead of chaotic. The way you spend your time shapes the person you become. The way you use your energy determines how far you can go. When you protect these resources, you create the conditions necessary for growth. Each moment you use intentionally becomes a building block for a stronger and more meaningful life. And as you continue to guard your time and energy, you begin to notice how much more is possible when your resources are no longer wasted, but directed with care and intention. Building discipline and inner strength begins with a decision that most people try to avoid: the decision to do what is necessary, even when it is uncomfortable. Many people wait to feel ready before they act. They wait for motivation, for inspiration, or for the perfect mood. But motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather, changing without warning. If you depend on motivation, your progress will always be inconsistent. Discipline is different. Discipline is the ability to move forward regardless of how you feel in the moment. Every time you choose action over comfort, you strengthen something inside yourself. At first it feels difficult because you are going against habits that have been built over years. The mind naturally seeks what is easy and familiar. It avoids effort and resists change. This resistance is normal, but it is also the very thing that keeps people stuck in the same patterns. Discipline is the force that allows you to move beyond that resistance instead of surrendering to it. Inner strength is not something you are born with. It is something you develop. Just as a muscle grows stronger through repeated effort, your character grows stronger through repeated challenges. Each time you face something difficult and continue anyway, you expand your capacity. What once felt impossible begins to feel manageable. What once felt overwhelming begins to feel familiar. Strength grows slowly, often unnoticed at first, but its presence becomes clear over time. One of the most important aspects of discipline is consistency. Small actions repeated daily are more powerful than large actions taken occasionally. Many people make the mistake of trying to change everything at once. They push themselves hard for a short period of time, then burn out and return to old habits. Real discipline is steady and patient. It focuses on progress that can be maintained, not effort that cannot be sustained. Consistency builds trust within yourself. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you prove to yourself that your words have meaning. This self-trust is essential because without it, doubt begins to take over. When you repeatedly break promises to yourself, you start to believe that you cannot rely on your own decisions. Discipline rebuilds that trust piece by piece, action by action. There will be moments when discipline feels heavy. There will be days when your energy is low and your mind is full of excuses. On those days, even small tasks can feel difficult. But these are often the most important moments because they test your commitment. Anyone can act when they feel strong. Anyone can move forward when they feel inspired. True discipline is revealed when you continue. Despite resistance, excuses are one of the greatest obstacles to discipline. The mind is skilled at creating reasons to avoid effort. It will tell you that you can start tomorrow, that you need more time, or that conditions are not right. These excuses often sound reasonable, which makes them dangerous. If you listen closely, you will notice that the same excuses appear again and again, keeping you in the same place. Overcoming excuses requires awareness. You must recognize when your mind is trying to lead you toward comfort instead of growth. This recognition creates a space where you can choose differently. Instead of automatically following the easiest path, you pause and consider what truly matters. This pause is where discipline begins. Discipline also requires structure. Without structure, your actions depend too much on your mood and circumstances. Routines create a framework that supports consistent effort. When certain actions become part of your daily routine, they require less mental effort to begin. You no longer debate whether or not to do them. You simply follow the pattern you have created. Structure does not remove freedom. It creates it. When your habits support your growth, you spend less time struggling with decisions and more time making progress. Your energy is used more efficiently because it is directed toward meaningful action instead of wasted on hesitation. Inner strength is closely connected to discipline because discipline teaches you how to endure discomfort. Discomfort is a natural part of growth. Whether you're learning a new skill, improving your health, or changing your habits, there will always be moments that feel challenging. Avoiding discomfort may bring temporary relief, but it also prevents development. Facing discomfort builds resilience, and resilience allows you to continue even when the path becomes difficult. As you develop discipline, you begin to see yourself differently. You start to recognize that you are capable of more than you once believed. Challenges that once seemed intimidating begin to feel like opportunities to grow. This shift in perspective changes the way you approach life. Instead of shrinking away from difficulty, you move toward it with greater confidence. Discipline is not about punishment or restriction. It is about alignment. It is about bringing your actions into harmony with your values and goals. When your daily behavior reflects what truly matters to you, there is less conflict within yourself. Your energy becomes more focused because it is not divided between what you want now and what you want most. Progress through this discipline is often quiet and gradual. There are no sudden transformations or instant results. Instead, there is a steady accumulation of effort that slowly shapes your character. Day by day, action by action, you become stronger, more focused, and more resilient. There is a certain calm that comes with discipline. When you know that you are doing what needs to be done, there is less anxiety about the future. You trust the process because you are actively participating in it. Instead of feeling lost or uncertain, you feel grounded in your actions. Through discipline, you learn that growth is not a single event but a continuous process. Each day presents a new opportunity to act with intention. Each challenge offers a chance to strengthen your character. And each moment of effort becomes part of the foundation you are building within yourself. Returning to your true self begins when you stop running from who you are. Many people spend years trying to become someone they think they should be. They shape themselves according to expectations, comparisons, and pressures from the outside world. Slowly, without even noticing it, they move further away from their natural way of being. They learn to act in ways that gain approval, to speak in ways that avoid criticism, and to live in ways that feel acceptable to others. But beneath all of that conditioning, there remains a quiet sense that something is not aligned. That quiet feeling is the part of you that knows you have drifted away from yourself. Most people are so surrounded by noise that they rarely hear their own thoughts clearly. Every day is filled with distractions, opinions, and constant stimulation. When the mind is always occupied, there is no space left for self-understanding. You move from one task to another, from one conversation to another, from one distraction to another, without ever pausing long enough to notice what is happening inside. Over time, this constant movement creates distance between you and your inner world. Returning to yourself requires stillness. It requires moments where you are not entertained, not distracted, and not influenced by the outside. In stillness, things begin to surface. Thoughts that were buried begin to appear. Feelings that were ignored begin to make themselves known. This can feel uncomfortable at first because you are no longer escaping from yourself. But this discomfort is part of the process. It is a sign that you are beginning to see clearly. When you sit quietly with yourself, you begin to notice patterns. You notice the thoughts that repeat again and again. You notice the worries that occupy your mind. You notice the habits that pull you in directions you do not truly want to go. This awareness is powerful because it allows you to see what was once automatic. What was once unconscious becomes visible, and what becomes visible can begin to change. Many people are afraid of looking within because they expect to find weakness or failure. They fear confronting their mistakes or acknowledging their mistakes or acknowledging their struggles. But returning to yourself is not about judgment. It is about understanding. The goal is not to criticize who you have been, but to understand how you became that way. When you understand your patterns, you gain the ability to transform them. Your true self is not something you need to create. It is something you need to uncover. It exists beneath the layers of fear, doubt, and expectation that have built up over time. These layers may feel permanent, but they are not. They are learned, and what is learned can be unlearned. Each time you question a limiting belief or challenge an old habit, you remove a small part of what is not truly you. One of the clearest signs that you are moving closer to your true self is a sense of alignment. Alignment happens when your actions match your values. When you live in alignment, there is less inner conflict. Your decisions feel clearer because they come from a place of understanding rather than pressure. You no longer feel pulled in opposite directions because you know what matters to you. Returning to yourself also means accepting who you are in this moment. Many people believe they must become perfect before they can accept themselves. They think acceptance will make them weak or prevent them from improving. But the opposite is true. Acceptance creates a stable foundation for growth. When you accept where you are, you can begin to move forward without denial or resistance. Acceptance does not mean staying the same. It means acknowledging reality as it is. From that place of honesty, real change becomes possible. You can see what needs to improve without feeling overwhelmed by shame or regret. You can take steps forward without pretending that everything is already fine. As you reconnect with yourself, you may begin to notice how often you have ignored your inner voice. There were moments when you sensed that something was wrong, but you pushed that feeling aside. There were times when you knew what you needed to do, but you chose the easier path instead. This happens to everyone, and recognizing it is part of returning to yourself. The more you listen to that inner voice, the clearer it becomes. At first, it may feel quiet and uncertain, but with attention, it grows stronger. It begins to guide you in small ways. It reminds you when something feels right, and when something feels right, and when something feels right. It helps you make decisions that reflect who you truly are, rather than who you think you should be. Returning to your true self often requires letting go. You may need to release old identities that no longer fit. You may need to step away from habits that keep you stuck. You may need to reconsider goals that were never truly yours. Letting go can feel difficult because it creates uncertainty, but it also creates space. In that space, something new can emerge. As you move closer to your true self, you may notice a growing sense of calm. This calm does not come from having a perfect life. It comes from being honest with yourself. When you are no longer pretending, no longer hiding, and no longer forcing yourself into roles that do not fit, there is a sense of relief. You are no longer carrying the weight of trying to be someone else. This process takes time. You cannot rush self-discovery, and you cannot force clarity. It unfolds gradually through reflection and experience. Each moment of awareness adds to your understanding. Each honest observation brings you closer to yourself. The journey back to yourself is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who you were before the noise became too loud, before the expectations became too heavy, and before the distractions pulled you away from your own path. Beneath everything you have experienced, there is a steady part of you that has always been there, waiting patiently to be recognized and lived fully. Everything begins to change the moment you decide that your life is worth your full attention. Not half of your effort, not the leftover pieces of your energy, but your full and honest commitment. When you take responsibility for your path, protect your time and energy, build discipline, and return to who you truly are, you begin to create a life that feels steady and meaningful from within. The outside world may still be noisy, challenges will still appear, and uncertainty will still exist, but something inside you will be different. You will no longer be drifting without direction. You will no longer be living according to every demand and distraction. Instead, you will be standing firmly within yourself, moving forward with clarity and purpose. Putting yourself first means recognizing that your life is not something to postpone. The days you are living now are not rehearsals for some distant future. They are the very moments that shape who you become. Every decision you make either pulls you closer to your true path or further away from it. And while the journey will require effort, patience, and courage, it will also give you something that cannot be found in comfort alone. A sense of strength, an alignment that comes from knowing you are living in a way that is true to you. There is no perfect moment to begin, no ideal condition that guarantees success. There is only the choice to start where you are, as you are, with what you have. Step by step, decision by decision, you shape your direction. And as you continue choosing growth over comfort and purpose over distraction, you begin to realize that the person you were searching for has been within you all along. The time to choose yourself is now. And the life you are meant to live begins the moment you decide that you are no longer willing to stand in your own way.